4, the camera saw it for me. My wife's hands on another man's shoulders, his mouth on hers, our daughter on the rug, watching cartoons with the volume low because mommy had asked for grown-up time. That's how the truth arrived in my house in Raleigh, North Carolina, pixel by pixel by pixel, time-stamped at 5:42 p.m., with the late sun cutting a bar of gold across the living room like a highlighter. I didn't install the camera to play cop. I installed it because something in the air at home felt off, like a smoke you can smell but not see. I'm a firefighter. My entire job is learning to trust that feeling before the room gets hot. 3 weeks of small changes had stacked up like kindling. New perfume. The way Tessa shut the laptop when I came in. The band rehearsals she joked about with a friend from middle school, a guy named Riley who moved back to Raleigh last year with a guitar and an easy laugh that found its way into every room we were in. Nothing on its own looked like flame. Together, they felt like heat. So I did the ugliest, simplest thing. I put a little camera on the bookshelf, angled at the couch where our 6-year-old June likes to camp with snacks and an old fleece. I told myself it was for safety. I told myself maybe I'd see nothing and feel stupid. I told myself anything but what I ended up seeing. The first 3 days showed me how normal our life looked. A pizza box on the coffee table. Tessa dancing June to that song from the cartoon with the girl and the dragon. The babysitter, Lily, her hair up in a messy knot, forwarding the mail and picking up crayons off the carpet with a bored grace. I recognize from every 20-year-old who has ever studied while helping people like us keep our chaos inside the lines. Nothing wrong, nothing at all. Day 4 was a Wednesday. I remember because the shift board at the station had put me on a 24, and I'd swapped out early with Nate so I could leave at 5 and surprise my girls with Krispy Kreme for dessert. The box of a dozen sat on the passenger seat, frosting smell filling the truck like a dare. Traffic on the Beltline did its normal slow creep. The sky went that thin pink it gets when the humidity is too tired to try. I was picturing June's face at the sight of a glazed with sprinkles when my phone buzzed twice. The motion alert. And then, 10 minutes later, another. I pulled into a Food Lion lot and opened the app. Every training I've ever had tells me not to make big decisions sitting down. My thumbs slid anyway. The first clip showed Riley at the door, that quick little wave he does, like he's always just arrived in his own music video. He hugged Tessa in the doorway too long for a hello. June ran past them without looking up, dialed into a show about a talking dog. They went to the kitchen. I felt ridiculous for the way my heart climbed into my throat just watching them laugh over the counter. I built 2 summers ago. The second clip didn't have laughing. It had a kiss. After 20 seconds of talking, after some head tilt of his I'd seen work on baristas, after Tessa turned to check the hallway like you check a blind spot, after nothing dramatic at all, he leaned and touched his mouth to hers. She didn't startle. She didn't pull away. She closed her eyes. It was quick. It was ordinary and specific, and it was the absolute wrong thing in my house, in front of my child, under my roof, with the camera light pretending to be one more green LED in a room full of them. I locked the phone and just sat there with the box of donuts, like a man who'd brought balloons to a funeral. I didn't peel out. I didn't run home. I called Lily. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice in that quiet range you use for ladders and skittish dogs. "You at the library like you said?" "Yeah," she said, like a kid who's telling the truth and knows it. "Study group. You need me to swing by early before Tessa goes to her thing." "No," I said, just checking. "You notice anything weird today?" Silence. A hesitation I could feel through the tower of cell signal to the cloud, to the rectangle in my hand. "Like what?" "Like Riley stopping by," I said. "Oh," she said, and then, carefully, "Yeah. He said he was dropping off notes, for the set list, for Saturday." "Was he still there when you left?" For a minute," she exhaled. "Mr. Owens, I'm not part of anything. I keep June safe. That's my job. I don't. I don't police adults. I know, I said. You don't. That's not your job. I pictured her face, young and intent, the way she always looks when she ties June's shoelaces twice so they won't come undone on the playground. Thanks. See you Friday. I hung up. I switched off the camera alerts. I drove home slower than I had to. I carried donuts into a room that smelled like lemons and something I didn't own. Daddy, June yelled, and the joy on her face hit me like the first breath of clean air after a crawl through smoke. She has Tessa's eyes and my grandmother's chin, a combination that means every expression she makes is a memory and a new thing at the same time. Hey, Bug, I said, scooping her up. Got you sugar circles. Tessa came out of the kitchen with that startled, too wide smile she does when plans shift. You're early, she said, and kissed my cheek. The kiss was light, a stamp, not a promise. Traffic was kind, I said. Riley stuck his head around the corner. Hey man, he said, too casual for the room. Just dropping some charts. Cool, I said, because the part of me that runs into burning buildings knows how to stand in a doorway and take a full picture before I choose a direction. You staying for donuts? Nah, I got a jet, he said, even as he looked at Tessa like the room didn't have corners. He left with a shrug that made my hands want to be fists. I put June at the table with napkins and sprinkles and all the sugar I shouldn't let her have on a school night. I looked at Tessa. She was busying the countertops with unnecessary precision. She always arranges things when she's hiding. How was rehearsal? I asked. She didn't blink. It's on Saturday. Right, I said. You asked for time. You got it. She nodded, and nodded like she was convincing herself of something. Do you want milk or coffee with your donut? She asked, as if the beverage was the hinge on which the whole night turned. I ate. I laughed with my kid. I did not mention cameras or kisses or the specific taste of betrayal that rides on your tongue like you burned it on soup, and now everything is wrong. After bedtime, after bath time, and book time, and the little song we sing about moons and spoons, I cleaned the kitchen while Tessa took a shower. I looked at the light fog on the bathroom mirror when she came out, wrapped in a towel, and wondered who she'd been for 20 minutes under the noise of the water. You okay? She asked, too quick. Are you? I asked. She did a small theatrical pause like a person who has practiced for an audience. Yeah. Why? You seem jumpy, I said. I'm just tired. She wrapped her hair in a second towel. I've got a blister from the boots I wore today. I'm walking wrong. Okay, I said, and somehow the word didn't break my teeth. At the station the next morning, I sat with Nate and watched Oatmeal Volcano in the microwave. He's been my partner 8 years. He knows my moods like I know which hydrants downtown stick in winter. He didn't poke. He just sat with me in the hum of a place where men pretend not to have feelings and caught the edges of them anyway. You look like you found something you were hoping not to find, he said finally. Caught my house lying to me, I said. He raised his eyebrows and let me say the rest, or keep it to myself. I told him about the camera. I told him about the kiss. I didn't say Riley's name because saying it would give him the dignity of a line in my life. What's your plan? He asked when I ran out of nouns. Evidence, I said, and hated how clinical it sounded. He nodded like a man who has seen rookies rush ladders. Good plan, he said. Evidence arrived in trickles. My life did not turn into a courtroom overnight. It turned into the kind of week where you find sharp things by accident. A text on Tessa's phone the next day. A banner that sailed across the lock screen while she made eggs for June. Thanks for yesterday. Long day felt short. A winky face turned sideways. She saw me glance. She flipped the phone face down like a woman hiding a queen in a deck. At lunch, while June made a tower out of carrot sticks and hummus, I cleaned out the glove box in the SUV because the registration was due, and I like to do small things that feel like control when bigger things are wild. A folded paper slid out and kissed the floor mat. A rental agreement from a complex near the amphitheater, 2 months, month to month, occupant, R. Holt, emergency contact blank. Purpose listed as rehearsal space. I stared at it the way you stare at a small stove fire that looks like it might blow and might just go out. I looked up and saw my daughter gluing googly eyes to paper and thought about what my face was teaching hers. That night, I called Lily and asked if we could talk in person. She came by after her campus class, sat on the edge of the chair like she was waiting to be graded. I told her she wasn't in trouble. She told me, with a relief that made me want to apologize for being a man in a house, that she'd seen Riley twice in the last week while she was there. He said he was bringing over his notebook, she said. He told me they were talking through the show order. I never saw anything. Weird. I don't look for things. I know, I said. I would never put you in that position. She nodded. If you ever feel like you're the only adult in the room, text me, I said. That's not your job either. Okay, she said, and her shoulders came down an inch. When she left, I sat at the dining table with a legal pad like I was writing up a report. Video. Thanks for yesterday. Rental lease. Babysitter's notes. My own gut. I wrote them without adjectives because adjectives will make you crazy. Then I put the pen down. My father left when I was 10, and my mother held the world up like Atlas until one day she couldn't. I promised myself in a church basement after a middle school wrestling meet that I would never make my kids watch adults fail to be adults. That promise rang in my ears like a smoke alarm when I looked at my daughter asleep, her arm over her head the way she does when she forgets she's not a starfish. Friday, I got off shift at 2 and went home. I moved the camera files to a thumb drive. I plugged that into the back of the TV. I made a pot of mac and cheese because even bad nights need good food. At 4:30, Tessa came in with June and a plastic saxophone from the school store that would ruin my hearing by Monday. At 5, Riley texted me my own number by accident, I think. Be there in 10, then... Sorry, wrong chat, then nothing. At 5:15, there was a knock on the door. I opened it. Riley stood there in a t-shirt pretending to be vintage. His eyes slid past me like I was semi-transparent. "We on for Saturday?" he asked, like I'm the stage manager for a band I don't like. "We're on for right now," I said, and stepped aside. Tessa came into the room with the kind of smile that breaks because it was designed too fast. "What's going on?" she asked. "We're going to watch a movie," I said, and nodded at the couch. Adult section. June's eating in her room. You can take her plate, Tess. She frowned like the idea had a smell. She took the plate anyway. When she came back, I was standing by the TV with the remote. Riley was pretending to check his phone. I clicked the input over. The living room filled with the familiar view of itself. Tessa's shoulders went rigid. Riley's head came up like a deer's. I pressed play. There we were in the same space 2 days earlier at the kid's eye angle. June on the rug, feet kicking. Tessa on the couch. Riley coming in, that wave, that hug. 30 seconds later, the kiss. Quiet, clear, a 3-second crime. No one spoke. The audio from the clip caught the cartoon dog's voice saying something about a friendship adventure, and I almost laughed at the cruelty of it. I clicked pause. The room we were in looked identical to the one on the screen, down to the toy horse with one wheel sticking out from under the coffee table. Tessa spoke first. "You recorded us?" "You recorded you," I said. "You recorded you in my house while our daughter watched television. You recorded you doing the one thing you told me you would never do to me." Riley shifted like the couch had grown nails. "This is messed up, man." I kept my eyes on Tessa. "It's all so simple," I said. "Is this what you want?" Her eyes went shiny, then angry, then shiny again. "It's not complicated?" I said. "That word is doing a lot of work for you." She looked at Riley. He looked at the door. He was already halfway out of our life and still in the room. "I'm sorry," she said finally, and the words sounded like they'd been printed and laminated and handed to her in a training. "I didn't mean to hurt you. You meant to not get caught," I said. "Those are not the same thing." Riley stood like he had a bus to catch. "I should go," he said, a sentence that will never not be funny to me when people say it in rooms they should never have entered. "Good idea," I said. He went. The door clicked. I waited for the part where I shouted. It did not arrive. I was surprised by my own quiet. Tessa sank into the corner of the couch and pressed the heels of her hands into her eyes like she could erase the world. "I hate that camera," she said. "I hate what I saw on it," I said. The camera didn't make the movie. For a long minute, we sat in the hum of the fridge and the soft thud of June through the wall yelling saxophone noise at an invisible audience. Tessa started to speak twice and stopped. When she finally let the sentence come, it was a small one. "I'm lonely," she said. "So am I," I said. "You didn't make me less lonely with this." "I feel like your second shift," she said. "I feel like you come home and the only thing you see is what needs fixing." "I run into buildings that are falling down," I said. "Sometimes I don't have any fix left when I get to the driveway." She nodded in a way that said she had rehearsed her side of this scene alone, in a mirror, and the lines weren't fitting right now that there was another actor. "Riley and I have history," she said. "He's easy." "He's sloppy," I said, "because the truth in the mouth gets hot and comes out rough. He is a man who will kiss you in front of my daughter and call that a rehearsal." She flinched. "This is not who I am," she said. "It is exactly something you did," I said. "Who you are will be decided by what you do next." "What do you want me to do?" she asked, sounding 12 and 31 at the same time. "Pack a bag," I said, and I watched the sentence land. "Go to your sister's. I'll keep June on the normal schedule until we have a plan. We tell her the truth in words she can hold. We do not set her on fire to warm ourselves." Tessa nodded once, twice. She looked around the room like she might never see it again and already missed it. "Can I say goodnight?" "You can always say goodnight," I said. She went down the hall. I heard June's small, happy voice. I heard Tessa's voice try to find the same notes it had last week and settle for something flatter. She came back with a backpack and a look that made me want to rewind time 2 years and make a different set of small choices every day. She stood in the doorway. "Do you hate me?" she asked. "I don't have time to," I said. "I have to make breakfast at 7 and socks at 7:30 and get a 6-year-old to school without teaching her that love means forgetting what you saw." She nodded. "Can we fix this?" she asked, "because that is a reflex, a muscle people work hard in this country." "I'm going to fix our daughter's week," I said. "The rest is going to be words and signatures and counseling if we can say anything new to each other. But today, I'm fixing bedtime." When the door shut, the house did not sigh. It held its breath. I turned off the TV. I put the thumb drive in a drawer next to old batteries and a screwdriver. I stood in the hallway and watched June sleep, her hair spread like a small red map on her pillow. I made a small promise in the quiet that wasn't about Tessa and wasn't about forgiveness. It was about waffles on Wednesdays and park on Saturdays and a bedtime song sung even on nights when my chest felt like a room after a fire, empty and wet and weirdly clean. In the weeks that followed, the world turned into the boring kind of hard that saves kids. Calendars. A mediator's office with a fake plant. Conversations with Tessa that sounded like radio instructions, short and clear. June kept her piano class at the Y. She kept her library books in the cloth bag with the dog on it. We agreed to a schedule the judge would like and she would love. Monday through Wednesday with me. Thursday through Saturday with Tessa. Sundays we traded at Poland Park, so neither house became a lobby and the handoff didn't feel like a courthouse. We sat on a bench by the carousel and learned to like the same cheap coffee again. Riley texted twice in the first month, long paragraphs with words like closure and connection. I did not respond. He showed up once at June's school concert and stood in the back with his hands in his pockets like a man measuring a window. Tessa kept her eyes on June. I kept my eyes on my daughter. The song was off-key. It was perfect. On the drive home, June asked if Mr. Riley was in the band with Mommy, and I said, "He won't be in any band I'm paying for," and then smiled so she would hear the joke and not the blade. Lily stayed. She brought coloring books and patience and told me once, while June was building a Lego hotel on the rug, that she was proud I hadn't asked her to choose sides. "A lot of people make me into a witness and a weapon," she said. "You just made me into help." "You are help," I said. "You are a helper." She nodded like I'd given her a patch for a jacket. In counseling, Tessa and I learned how to talk like adults who once loved each other and now loved a child more. There were tears. There were times I wanted to argue a point like a lawyer, until a therapist with gray hair and a kind mouth reminded me that no one wins the case, where the prize is your kid's sense of safety. The therapist taught us to say June's name at the beginning of sentences that felt like fights. June needs. June thrives when. June thrives when. June gets quiet when. It felt corny. It worked. The human nervous system likes name tags. On a Thursday, 3 months after the video, Tessa sat next to me on the park bench and said she'd ended it with Riley. She said he liked the version of her that didn't pack lunches. She said that version didn't exist on Tuesdays when bills are due. I believed her. I didn't revisit the tape to check. It didn't change our shape. It changed how she cried in the car. People ask if I ever wanted to scorch the earth. Tell everyone. Post the video. Let her employers know. Tell his mother. We live in a world that rewards the loudest fire. I wanted to call the fire out of the building for once. I wanted one person in this mess to choose a door that wasn't dramatic, so I didn't send the file to anyone. I didn't even save it for court. It's gone now, dropped into the same digital nothing where thousands of little lies go to die. June stopped asking the question that had broken me the first 2 weeks. When are we a together family? She started asking better ones like, are there waffles on Tuesday? And can we bring bread to the ducks? She drew our house with 2 roofs and a tree that lived in both yards. She's 6, so she will carry a version of this into whatever grown-up room she makes someday. My job is to keep the version that lands in her lap clean enough that she can set it down without bleeding. I moved the camera off the shelf. Not because cameras are evil, because the room is ours again. Because I want June to learn that safety is a voice, not an app. We still have a doorbell that tells me when packages come and when my friend leaves a casserole on the step like a hymn. I still listen to the air when I walk in a room. I will all my life now. There are costs to seeing clearly. There are bigger costs to closing your eyes. Tessa and I are not friends. We are something better and harder. We are teammates. Sometimes she laughs at a memory, and I let the sound float away without catching it. Sometimes I see her sit in her car after drop-off and stare at the steering wheel like she's reading her future on it. I don't rescue her. That was the old reflex. The new one is to check the buckles on June's booster and remember I am not the hero of every story. Some stories need a steady man, not a brave one. A couple weeks ago, we went to the firehouse open house. Kids climbed on the engine. I showed a cluster of second graders how we mask up, how the air tank works, how the world looks when you drop a helmet over your eyes. June tried my jacket and laughed at how it ate her whole body. When the crowd moved on, she tugged my sleeve. "Daddy," she said, "do you fight the fire or do you help the people?" "Good, both," I said. "Hi!" "If you can only pick one," she asked. "Because she is my daughter." "I help the people," I said, "every time." That night, after she fell asleep at my place, I sat in the living room and looked at the empty shelf where the camera had been. The house was quiet in a way that didn't make my skin itch. I thought about how easy it would have been to let anger make me interesting. I'm not interested in that man. I'm interested in the one who knows the bedtime schedule better than the score of the game and can braid hair with hands that used to be only good for hauling hose. If you ever feel the room go weird and think you must be crazy, maybe you're the only one who isn't. If you ever learn something from a machine and want to set the world on fire with it, maybe try a smaller flame. Light a path for your kid instead. Keep the waffles coming. Keep the handoffs kind. Keep your promises in sentences you can teach a 6-year-old to say back to you. Would you have played the video, or tried to forget what you saw and hope the feeling passed? Where, for you, is the line between protecting a child and punishing a partner? If this story moved you, tell me which moment hit hardest and why. Like, comment, and subscribe for more.